Scouting Report.
So as a reminder, the Scouting Report on the Belated Binge podcast is where we hone in on one particular character. What did we learn about them in the chapters that we're covering, and how does that help to shape or maybe even predict, perhaps, some of the stuff that's to come for them in the series? In today's Scouting Report, we're doing our first one on Neville. Harry's relief that he wasn't paired with Neville in Flitwick's charms class is, I'm just going to say, it's rather disappointing. Where the book says that he was relieved to be partnered with Seamus because Neville had been trying to catch his eye. I don't like it. So far, Harry's been a pretty high character kid. He even sticks up for Neville multiple times leading up to this moment. He doesn't want to see Neville get bullied, but he also doesn't really want to be friends with him. You get the sense that Harry pities Neville at this point in the book, and if so, that sucks. Perhaps I'm overthinking the passage, and maybe Harry just doesn't want to be Neville's partner in class, not because he doesn't like Neville, but because Neville sucks at magic and he doesn't want a bad grade. That is always a possibility in this situation because that's how Neville has been laid out for us in these first few chapters of the first book. He's kind of bumbling. Either way, Neville's presumed disappointment in that moment just seems par for the course for him at this point, but it doesn't make it any less sad for his character. Neville hasn't done wrong by anybody since he got to Hogwarts. He's a nice kid, he's a loyal dude, and just seems to have a desire for friendship. And he's not really getting it. He's clumsy, forgetful, kind of whiny, and he describes himself in the next book as practically a squib. This is a character whose family thought that he was a squib until he was like 8 years old or something, if I'm recalling that correctly, and his crazy ass uncle dropped him out of a window. I believe he says he bounced down the road, to everyone's delight. I don't know. All this has led him to be incredibly insecure. And who can blame him? For what we know about his home life and what we learn over the course of the books is that his grandmother is super hard on him and constantly comparing him to his father, trying to force him to live up to the legacy. And it's a hell of a legacy. His parents were Aurors who fought against Voldemort in the Order of the Phoenix. They were apparently formidable because it could have been them who were the subject of Trelawney's prophecy instead of the Potters. He and Harry were born a day apart, and both of their parents had apparently thrice defied Voldemort. I still don't know what that part of the prophecy means, but it seems important, and it honestly seems badass. We were a coin flip away from reading Neville Longbottom and the Sorcerer's Stone right now, or Philosophers. But we're not. His parents are still alive in St. Mungo's hospital with irreparable brain damage from what I can only imagine was an incredibly long exposure to the Cruciatus Curse. They were quite literally tortured into insanity at the hand of Bellatrix Lestrange, Barty Crouch Jr., and a couple others that get basically no page time. So home life for Neville, not great. And then he comes to school. He's got a toad that he keeps losing, and apparently toads aren't the coolest pets to begin with. He's shown little to no magical prowess. He's always forgetting the password to the common room. He nearly gets caught by Filch in the trophy room for being so clumsy, and he falls off a broom and breaks his arm or wrist or whatever it was the first time that he tries to fly one. The kid is written as a complete loser and super sympathetic character. And at this point in the story, that just kind of hit me harder. I don't know. This time, for some reason, it sucks more. I'm imagining a kid who can't catch a break and who desperately just wants to be friends with the boys in his dorm. And the reaction that we get from Harry is, thank God I wasn't paired with that kid. And that sucks. It also makes me think the turning point in the arc for Neville is going to be particularly satisfying during this reread. I don't want to go through the entire thing about it right now, right here, because that's getting pretty far ahead of ourselves in the book. But Book Neville gets a growth arc to match the actor's glow up. And if you watched the 20th anniversary or followed Twitter ever in the past 20 years. It's been well documented. But I will say this. Part of the reason that Neville is kind of terrible at magic right now is the fact that he's using his dad's old wand. And we know that the wand chooses the wizard. This wand didn't choose Neville. And he's not that great at magic right now for it. And guess what? There's another character who's using a hand-me-down wand right now and who's not that great at magic at this moment. It's Ron. We draw a lot of parallels between Harry and Neville because, honestly, according to the prophecy, either one could have been the chosen one, the boy who lived. Who knows if they'd have been the boy who lived? We don't know what Frank and Alice Longbottom would have done if it was them in the Potter's shoes. We can assume, and we're gonna, that we would be reading the same book, just with maybe the Neville and the Harry characters flipped. They have that much, I guess, in line with each other without even realizing it. Their fates are so intertwined with each other that the parallels that get drawn between them are inevitable. This one with Ron and any with Ron, not so much. But both of them are going to end up getting their own wands. And both of them are definitely going to grow. Might take them a minute to grow up, though.
The Belated Binge Podcast.